Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 10th, 2022. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits. Hopefully, you're warm and cozy right now, wherever you are. As for me, I am pretty cold. I have refused to turn on the heat for now, obviously. My deal with myself is I try to hold out until it's literally freezing. I'm a heat miser, and so far it works for me. And but I'm cold. But I got some clothes on. That's neat. I got my little hoodie, got my little joggers on. But let's see, what else about me? Food corner. Yes, I had Skyline for lunch after work, and it was very good. I had a five-way. I had two cheese coneys with everything. That's right, I'm a maximalist. Skyline maximalist. I should get specific there. And then I had the triple chocolate cheesecake, which I didn't know you can make chocolate cheesecake that way. So I wasn't sure how this was gonna turn out. It was very good, and they served it with like a little bit of whipped cream on top. It was good. I enjoyed it. Also, weirdly, I always feel like I spend too much at Skyline. I felt like that lunch was proportional, and I like that. I don't want to say nature is healing because I feel like we look at the economy right now where the money no, it's not good. Well, kind of. I'm not an economist. I've been looking at that, but you guys should know I'm not a numbers guy. I try to avoid that kind of news unless it's like really like laid out in layman's terms. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good lunch meal. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah. But we can get into some news. Hopefully before my computer craps out on me. Let's see. CNN Sports. Yeah, I guess technically, yeah, it's the sports news. Um, American journalist Grant Wahl dies after collapsing at Qatar World Cup. Sorry, I was thinking about the pronunciation, which I'm always going to keep screwing up. I'm sorry. um, but sadly, American journalist Grant Wahl died while doing coverage. He was 49 years old. He was actually literally covering the Argentina Netherlands match. As told by a witness, he collapsed. He fell ill on Saturday at the. Well, I can just kind of run you through it a little bit. Essentially, he was saying he wasn't feeling well, and it was kind of noted amongst like people who witnessed him on the day it happened, and then also days prior, he was on a podcast, and his co-host, him and the two of them were talking, and he said he wasn't well, he wasn't feeling well, and essentially, he did wind up getting some medical help, and they issued him. And this is where there's a little bit of discrepancy. I've heard he got cough medicine and ibuprofen. I've heard another rendition, which I believe I got from BBC, their global news podcast, where he got cough syrup and antibiotics. So, when those are two different things, but that might just be a discrepancy. They might just be leaning on their source information a little differently. I don't know. But they initially just kind of diagnosed him with bronchitis. And I guess he was just trying to more or less muscle through it and, finish out, his coverage. He's done a lot of this. I think he's been doing it for decades. Like I think like literally 2 decades of coverage. I think maybe a total of 8 cups he's covered. So I mean, he is definitely a vet. He was definitely a veteran, and he's even said like for almost all of these, I'm almost always sick. Like I'm always kind of just doing my best and getting through it. And I guess this was more or less something he was just gonna try to power through. But it hasn't been confirmed exactly what the cause of death has been. But yeah, it was definitely really sad to hear. I think there was also a layer too that is kind of being talked about maybe a little bit on social media, a little bit behind the scene, but just the talks of like conspiracy, honestly. and that is he came to Qatar and he had a rainbow shirt on, for support of gay rights, and he was detained for it. And they were telling him, hey, you got to take it off. I guess he wasn't taking it off, so they detained him. But then later, FIFA representatives came through and said, no, he's good, he's fine, he's allowed to be here. Just relax, let him go. And he was asked if he would wear the shirt again. He said he probably would. But a lot of people kind of thought, oh, well, this was like Qatar, like trying to do something. Like that conspiracy thing, boom, immediately hit the second the news dropped. And I do think it's one of those things where we have to be very careful to just not jump to that conclusion. You definitely want to say things, and it's like, oh, 1 + 1 = 2. Here we go. That's what it is. And it's so easy to go on this dive so quickly. The internet just provides you a rapid ass highway to just get with other people. Like, yeah. It's definitely something's up. Oh my gosh. But there hasn't been anything to say that that's the case. It definitely looks like this is something that is on the level. We just don't know what the cause of death is. But definitely it's just upsetting. It's always sad to hear about a death, and sometimes conspiracy theories have a weird kind of comfort, no? Like, you can experience this random act of loss. I mean, this man's 49 years old. That's not old. You definitely have life ahead of you, and to just die like in the middle of doing something that you just have been doing, just living your life, it's very sad. And you want to have a reason for it, especially you want to have it immediately in these moments, and grasping for something like that just feels better. It feels comforting in its own way to try to fight that kind of monster as opposed to the randomness of life. But definitely if there's anything else that pops up with the story, I'll definitely be here to cover it. But it definitely got my attention last night, and I was like, okay, yeah, definitely want to bring that up. In the next bump, we got from Yahoo News and the Associated Press: suspected German coup plot spawns dozens of arrests. So at least like 22 plus people, maybe, I know at least 22 German citizens have been arrested in a coup plot. And honestly, I wasn't personally super surprised to hear this, only because I knew earlier in the year, actually the Daily was really on it. They had done some coverage just about how these kind of cells of people can grow. And I don't think necessarily it's, Germany for the sake of Germany. I think there are definitely roles that are kind of at play here. And it's more, and definitely in this situation from this article, I really get a sovereign citizen vibe. Like, it's very strong here. But essentially, like, the logic of these people where they're like, hey, actually, when you really look at it, when you really think about it legally, Germany's like not even a real country, like not anymore. No, not anymore. It used to be. Now, when before the Constitution, the real Constitution was ratified and real, like, and I'm getting this maybe a little bit off here. This is like their dogma that they've been running off of, their ideology. But essentially they're saying, well, before that was the real Germany. After that fake constitution that's not really real, that's just a Germany that exists, but it's like a puppet country. It's not really real. Our idea of Germany is, and we want to make that reality. And the thing that kind of makes it scary is that there were like policemen who were involved in this plot. There were former like politicians who were involved in this plot. Like even up to a judge. So that's a little spooky. That's a little not good. As well as there was this guy, I gotta get his name right. Heinrich the 13th, Prince Rus, a 71-year-old member of the House of Rus, who continues to use the title despite Germany abolishing any formal role for royalty more than a century ago. But like I said, they're running off this old script. According to this old script, you gotta do this, man. You gotta have a prince. That's the way this works, and he's the guy. Also, too, within this group, there's factions. So there's not necessarily people who only subscribe to this. There are people who are like, no, it's another way. And I think they kind of want the more Hitler version. I'm not sure there, but like they're like, yeah, that's the kind of shit that we're backing. But they're different shades. But essentially, all of them are saying the Germany that you guys know and the world accepts is not real Germany. And we need to correct that issue so that the real Germany is the one in power and in control. Um, Now, to some people, they're kind of trying to say, like, well, in a lot of ways, this was like a lot of drunken talk, a lot of just texting and talking. It's not really real or concrete. But at the same time, German officials are taking this seriously. And they did raids and, apprehended all these people, and they're going to try them. Personally, I think that's good. I think the stakes are very high in these kind of situations. If you allow them to fester and grow, um, they're going to lead to deaths. I mean, that's just a fact. The question is, how radical are those moments going to be? Are they going to? Because I mean, these guys were literally planning on like running into a government building and shooting people. Like that was real to them. They were queuing that up. I don't feel like that's just drunken talk. Um, we'll see what the ramifications are. They actually have an example, though, in the article. Officials have repeatedly warned that far right extremists pose the biggest threat to Germany's domestic security. This threat was highlighted by the killing of a regional politician and the deadly attack on a synagogue in 2019. A year later, far right extremists taking part in a protest against the country's pandemic restrictions tried and failed to storm the Bundestag building in Berlin. So, and then also the thing I referenced from the Daily was a guy who was I believe, a soldier, and then he was trying to, like, he had faked his ID and then re-entered the country as a Syrian national, quote unquote. That was what the alias he was trying to go as, and he was trying to more or less set up a shooting or a situation, and he got caught in the act. Like, they literally found the weapons he was storing in, like, I think like an airport bathroom hole sewer thingy. And essentially, with this whole like nationality thing he was faking, he was going to try to like spark unrest to try to like get immigrants out of the country, more or less. Was trying to like spur that kind of civil unrest. So I mean, these guys aren't messing around. I know these are unrelated situations I'm bringing up, but you want to, these are all in one country. And then in America, we have our own situations going on, and these kind of things happen throughout the world. It is an international issue. The rise of like far right extremism is a real fucking thing. I mean, sure, we can always talk about it on the other end. I'm not saying it doesn't exist on both sides of the conversation, but I think the news has shown me very clearly that it's not a balanced conversation. And I think that's a surprise in and of itself, because I feel like the news doesn't go out of its way to really talk about this shit, because they know it's a bumper. They know it doesn't actually, like, I feel like it gets ratings to a point, but people get burned out on these kind of stories. So they try to cycle them in and out, right? But I mean, it's real. It's there. It's at a state level. And like I said, it's at an international level. So definitely wanted to put some coverage and light on that. Let's see. Speaking of states, let's talk about Arizona. Let's talk about some spirit. Let's talk about some weird, fucked up shit, actually, at the root of it. Actually, this is one where I'm gonna take a little midway break, because this is a heavy one. So and honestly, it's children are involved. Sadly, trigger warning us, like sex acts are involved. So if you want to skip ahead on this one, totally. I will say we got some good news at the end, but I mean, Jesus fuck. Actually, these next two are bangers, and not in a cool jam spot way. I mean, like the movie Seven, kind of. Anyway, okay, all right. Um, Got this from NBC News. Polygamous leader in Arizona had more than 20 wives, including children, feds say. Samuel Bateman, who was arrested in September on federal charges, said it was the Heavenly Father's will he participate in sex acts with minors. An FBI affidavit says, alleges. Um, I mean, man, this is a fucked up story. It's really fucking gross. But yeah, Samuel Rapely. God, what a fucking setup. Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right too. Okay, this is sparking my memory. I actually heard this initially on Side Stories. This man was literally driving around with his family, and essentially his family was like 20 wives. Some of these were like children, and like he was living with them, and like he was like spreading this idea that he was a prophet. He was more or less starting these kids off very young, and oh god, I mean the shit is just gross. Like he was literally grooming these kids. He was literally grooming this whole group. I think he initially had one marriage, and then after that marriage failed, he like immediately kind of descended into this life. But he was a leader of a branch of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, according to the affidavit. Um, Also, I think there was like an undercover kind of thing involved here too, in which they kind of wind up, getting all the evidence and stuff that they need. Essentially, it was a wife and a husband, like that was the cover, and they introduced themselves to the Batemans, offered to kind of help, lend assistance, and then also the husband was running a documentary. So I got to stop right there and say, wow, right? Because that meant this dude has an ego, a hubris to himself, that if you just give him a little bit of kindness, a little bit of like attention and saying, hey, no, you're okay. Okay, I see this weird situation, but you're all right. He immediately just continues on to the role like, okay, yeah, gotcha. You're under the fold. You understand me. And he proceeds to show these people his life. And my thing is, if this person has told you this is a documentary and you're rolling with that, what do you think is going to happen? This is going to go on television potentially, right? Like, this guy was that. What I mean to say with all this is that this is the ego of this Bateman guy. Which, I mean, it's very cult-like behavior. But I mean, like I said, I really don't want to get too much in the ick and the details. But the kids themselves didn't actually want to, admit to anything. I think one of them admitted to being present and partially nude for sex orgies. Once again, according to the affidavit, there was an instance where 8 of the 9 girls on November the 27th ran away from group homes. I mean, the whole story. If you want the guts, it's definitely there and available. But yeah, they were transported, and like I said, that's why I'm glad I remember that the last podcast part, because essentially I believe that they were like transported like in kind of like a family style converted like U-Haul situation. So not good living quarters. This was not comfortable at all. He's just schlepping them across Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and Nebraska between 2020 and 2021, which is a lot of movement. Because this guy knows what he's doing is not okay. Like, he knows what he's doing is not okay. But yeah, no, you can film your little documentary. Your wife's helping me. You guys seem nice. What? Like, so I mean, I really hope they maximize this shit on him. Like, this guy should never see the fucking light of day. I hope he doesn't. Like I said, I usually try not to overlap stories with like a podcast like Last Podcast on the Left. They're gonna do it better. They're funnier. They actually tell it like but this was obviously too good, and I didn't fully connect until like I kind of said I got into the article on this podcast actually, and I was like, oh shit, yes, I did cover this. But man, what a fucker, dude. What a piece of fucking shit. But we're still in the same fucking toilet bowl here. Let's move on to the next bump. Associated Press, another fucking piece of shit. Ex-Border Patrol agent convicted of killing 4 women in Texas. Juan David Ortiz, 39. He did receive automatic sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole because prosecutors decided not to seek the death penalty. As always, I'm glad when the death penalty is not pursued, but this is definitely one of the times where I get it. I understand the feelings and the sentiments for sure. But let's see. Ortiz, a Border Patrol intel supervisor at the time of his arrest, was accused of killing Melissa Ramirez, 29, Claudine Ann Luera, 42, Giselda Alcia Cantu, 35, and Janelle Ortiz, 28. Their bodies were found along roads on the outskirts of Laredo in September of 2018. Now, they had his confession, which I think really just nailed this shit down. The defense tried to get it thrown out, but it wasn't successful. And also, Ortiz had told investigators he had been a customer of most of the women, but he also expressed disdain for sex workers, referring to them as trash and so dirty, and insisting he wanted to clean up the streets. So he had this fucked up complex in his head that he's doing the world a favor doing this shit, that he also talks about how like the monster would come out. So he's really like kind of trying to evoke these emotions that like he's like the Punisher and he also like can't control himself at the same time. So it's all like it just makes sense. And it's like, no, dude, what the fuck? Like, you are a monster, that's for fucking sure, but you're a monster the whole time, bro. Like, what the fuck? But they essentially caught him in the act. There was a moment where, let's see, they have the person's full name here, but I know the last name is Erica Pena. She was aware of the situation at hand about the murders, and on the evening of September 14th, 2018, she got a bad feeling when Ortiz had more or less said he was one of the last people to have sex with Ramirez. And that set an alarm bell off with her because, like I said, she knew the situation. She's like, oh, no, this isn't okay. And I think there was a gas station, and he pulls a gun out of her, and she immediately just runs to a state trooper who was refueling his car. So, the stars just fucking aligned in the situation. She was ready to run, and she did, and there was a state trooper, and there was an immediate kind of like fleeing situation. They tracked Ortiz down September 15th, 2018. He was arrested. But yeah, I mean, this dude, piece of shit monster, man. He ended people's lives just because he thought it was something to do, and he felt like he was really doing a world a favor, just being a sick freak. So, condolences to the families. It's just senseless ass loss. I don't know. I mean, you could literally do a whole deep dive just talking about these kind of issues that come up on this kind of shit, just with sex work, and how it is viewed by society and all that kind of shit. But yeah, glad he is going to rot in fucking prison. Clink, 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 clink. And we got some good news at the end of this. So I'm double header. Let's go. Yeah, almost coughed, but I did it because that's for chumps. Whew. I really hope you guys do something cool when I'm taking my breaks. I hope you're taking a break too, you feel me? Whatever that break is, I hope we're taking a break together, communally. That's a vibe. That's the reason I don't edit these out, by the way. One, because I have not educated myself and I'm too lazy to. And two, because I just like the vibe. Since I got into podcasting, I've kind of liked that I could just do this and be loosey-goosey. But anyway, yeah. We have some good news, and I want to end on a good note. From Yahoo News, Associated Press, we're living there. Bill protecting same-sex interracial unions clears Congress. So this was the Respect for Marriage Act. I've been really kind of waiting to cover this because I did not want Congress to fuck it up. But this has been in the wings for, I really feel like a while now, at least a couple months, honestly, on the ripples of Roe v. Wade. In one of the dissertations or whatever, Clarence Thomas, his rat fuck ass, was really teeing it up and saying, hey, not only should Roe v. Wade, or, should that be done, excuse me, he also references like another case, I think it's like Ogerfell or something like that, but essentially he's talking, Ogerfell v. Hodges, and he's essentially saying that the decision legalizing same-sex marriage could also be reconsidered, which is like, what? No, dude, no, none of this should be fucking considered. And once again, it dawned on the whole fucking light that it's like, we look at the Democrats and it's like, you've had opportunities to make this not happen. You could have legalized abortion and we would have been fine, but you never did that when you had the majority powers. You never fucking did. You found excuses not to. So maybe you could legalize same-sex marriage before it gets fucking overturned by the fucking Supreme Court and we have this issue all over again. And maybe we should just do it too for interracial marriages. Why not? Maybe. And like I said, they've kind of been playing hot potato between the House and the Senate. And they did finally get it done this week. So I'm like, fuck yeah, thank you. Okay, can finally cover it. Biden's going to sign it. Get your old ass on it, Joe. Because, like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy that we haven't fixed these issues, that we haven't nailed these things down. It's not concrete yet. I mean, it just goes to show, once again, that it's part of the problem with politics. Also, this isn't 100% great gravy. Like, it's good that we have this done, but there are holes in it. It's frustrating in situations because, like, let's say you're a couple in a state that isn't necessarily approving of gay marriage. They can still not allow you to get married in their state. Like, shit like that's annoying. Like, they have to accept it, though, if you go to another state and get a legal marriage, though. So, it's like, okay, you're really going to make us go through this loophole, go through this extra hassle. There's a little bit of caveats and stuff like that. Like I said, in that kind of, like in that state, they could literally say, no, we're not going to marry you. But they have to abide and give you real laws and protections and stuff once you are married. He's got to go to someone else to do it. So silly little things like that, but it's a step in the right direction. So yay, flowers, snaps, all that. So yeah, I just wanted to end on a good, clean note, as clean as we could, for this episode. Thank you for, sticking around if you made it to the end. Awesome. You're awesome. I love you. This is the shill part, though. I'm sorry. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you'd like to become a newsie, get that bonus content, that shit I'm paywalling, you can have it. $5. All yours. Also, you get a shout out on the podcast. You also get Discord access. So neat little things, neat little treats, gifts, if you will, presents. I mean, you gotta pay for it, but hey, it's capitalism, baby. I do have a free way, though, on Gmail to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Also, I am on all the socials that you're probably on, because I am a millennial who's trying to fit in. Yeah. So yeah, find me, hit me up, say hello, and we can chat. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.